What's up, guys? How is it going? All right. A little something different today, actually. I decided to go revisit some losses in this section here, and just to give you guys a sense of what these games look like. I've had a number of people point out that I seem to only post games that I win. And, well, in my defense, I don't lose games too often online. I think part of that is just due to the disparity in competitiveness between the decks that I tend to play and the decks that most of my opponents play. There are 3 different rooms on Magic Online, just for fun, getting serious, whatever that means, and the tournament room. And unfortunately, it's completely impossible to get a game of multiplayer list Commander in anything but the just for fun room. I've tried, believe me, I've sat there for a half an hour or more in both the getting serious and tournament practice room with a constructed Commander game available for people to join, and gotten no takers and eventually given up in frustration. So really the only place that you can get a game of this Commander format that uses the multiplayer list, you see some games up here with the 1v1 list still. But yeah, you really just can't get people to play you in anything but the casual room. And unfortunately in the casual room, there's all sorts of different people. And it's hard to get a game that's competitive. It's harder still to get a competitive game that's video worthy. But when they do arise, I try to record them for you. And of course, there's that final layer of whether or not the archive works. So it's basically 3 different layers of difficulty to bring a video to fruition. I started playing the Yuriko deck that I've been testing now for, I guess, over 2 weeks now. I think right around this period, you can see, I think it was actually right in this session right here. So you can see the amount of wins. I talked before about how the deck had a crazy record of roughly 60-0, and I think it didn't quite get that high. That was a bit of an exaggeration. But if you look down here, I'm testing it through all these days, testing. You can see a million games against the Daniel. Yeah, he was just throwing his same deck against it over and over and over again without any chance. And finally, the first loss comes right here on the 28th of January. So I'm going to revisit this one first. I'm going to be speeding through these games faster than I normally go, not as much analysis. But you'll get a sense of what's going on in the games that I'm losing, at least with the Yuriko deck. All right, so starting up with Mr. Turbo Bird here. Hopefully the sizing works. Yeah, good. It's doing a good job capturing. All right, I should give you guys a good sense. All right. So up against Turbo Bird, obviously there's spoilers here. Whatever that is. That I'm not going to win this game, but you're going to find out why. All right, so he's up with Ravos and Timna the Weaver. An interesting pairing, the fact that it's both black-white. You don't get any advantage for playing with Ravos other than I guess it's a decent creature. And this hand is just borderline keepable, which is often the start of games that tend to be really, really close, or games that turn into losses. You notice I do have the Gilded Drake, which allows me to snag the Timna, and I do have Vidalcan Shackles as well, figuring if I draw one more island, I can steal Timna and his other commander. And Deluge as a fallback plan. It seems like it's good enough, so I'm definitely going to keep this hand. And starting first, of course, I'm not going to sack the Scalding Tarn. He plays Evolving Wilds. It just immediately gives you a sense of the disparity in power level. This is very much a budget card. I'm not going to sack the Tarn. All right, I got a counterspell. I'm looking set up here. I'm going to move the mouse away from the microphone so it's not too clicky. I apologize for that. So I draw Wasteland. Everything's looking pretty good here, so now it's time to go get Underground Sea. And I decided I'm just going to cast Yuriko here, given the fact that he may just play Timon on the next turn. I fully expect him to, and I'm just going to Toxic Deluge it away and attack him, and that'll keep it out of play for a long time. That's kind of what I expect to happen, of course. He plays a Strip Mine. It's just a crazy play, given that I just put Yuriko into play, but now I find out why. He plays Aethersworn Canonist. A bit of a strange card to see. But I guess he's just in there to hate on combo decks or something. I don't know. Maybe the better the deck is, the better the Aethersworn Canonist is against it. Of course, I can't attack now, and I can't cast anything, given the fact that he killed my Underground Sea and I've drawn the Sunken Ruins. So he plays Reliquary Tower, and then he plays Runetail Kitsune. So this thing flips, actually, I guess it's called Fox Monk, and it flips over immediately because its flip condition is 30 life, and I haven't damaged him yet this game. So he basically has the equivalent of an emblem. It's not quite that because it's an enchantment, but I can't deal damage to creatures he controls. And it's not a card I've hardly played against at all. So, yeah, anyway, it's I'm going to misplay against it in a little bit. which is going to contribute to the problems here. I draw Flooded Strand, so now I feel fine again. I've got Counterspell up and don't really have a way to get through for attacking. So I figure I'm just going to wait around and either Gilded Drake, something big that he plays, or just Deluge his second 2/2 and start attacking with Yuriko the following turn. He plays Godless Shrine, and he plays Grand Abolisher, of course. And I probably could have taken the safe route here and just deluged for 2 here to kill off both those creatures. I wouldn't have been able to attack with Yuriko, but that would have at least cleared away 2 really pesky creatures, and I wouldn't have had to worry about damage being dealt. So I think this counterspell was a bit impulsive, given the fact that I don't have any other counters in hand, so counterspelling the Grand Abolisher doesn't really make a lot of sense, honestly. I mean, if it stays in play, it's a problem, but I don't have any other reactive cards, and could wind up just stealing it or deluging it in a few turns. So I think the counterspell was a little greedy there. You just get very much in the lockstep habit of counterspelling that creature, since it locks you out of counterspells forever. So now I draw a Snapcaster Mage, which I can't really play. I decide I'm going to play the Augury Owl just to scry. I've got a Forbid on top, castable currently, Trinket Mage, also really nice, and Soul Ring. So I ordered them with the Soul Ring on top, followed by the Trinket Mage. And given the fact that I know that I'm drawing a Soul Ring next, I decide to Wasteland him to slow him down so that he can't play his 5-mana commander and get the Grand Abolisher back next turn. Still can't attack, but I'm not too worried about Tymna either. Given the fact that if he blocks, or he attacks, I can just block with these 2 guys, right? Pretty simple. I see him reordering them, and then when his guy doesn't die, I go, oh wait, that's right, he's got this enchantment in play. Go. Well, he doesn't get to draw, but now I have 1 less blocker. Okay, so I draw a Soul Ring. This allows me to play. Again, it might have made more sense to just Deluge there, although that's a big risk, because if I Deluge for 2 and he draws another land, he can just play Ravos and immediately get the Canonist back, and that doesn't really advance my board position very much. Although I guess if I draw 1 more land, then I can Treachery away the creature and start regrowing my own stuff. But Tymna is super scary. And there's probably plenty of different things I could have done in this game to avoid losing. So he's got Core Sanctifiers breaking my Soul Ring. Ay, ay, ay. That is not cool, dude. And now Gilded Drake becomes a problem, and I can't even deluge the board. Trinket Mage I can't cast. Ay, ay, ay. You can see how quickly this is just descending into suck. So then he plays a Crusade that regrows the Grand Abolisher. Doesn't attack with Core Sanctifiers for some reason, even though I can't really stop it. I take another 4 from my own Drake. I know what I'm drawing, and you can see where this is going down to 19. Gonna have to get pretty lucky here. I mean, I guess all I really need to do is just draw land, and I can clear away most of the creatures, but it's just getting uglier and uglier. More creatures attacking. He's not attacking with a Sanctifier for some reason. Bojuka bogs me. I'm down to 13, and I'm taking 6 in the air from flyers. And I need to draw land this turn. Nothing. Just a useless daze. And knowing that I'm going to take 6 more in the air next turn at a minimum, although he can probably attack with everything at this point, I'm going to be so low that the Deluge doesn't get me out of the situation. I know it. And with that in mind, scoop. That is a lost game right there. Okay, so first game lost. You can see what happened. A couple misplays on my part. Also, my mana being destroyed and really just drawing too many spells and never getting the commander going. Okay. So, moving on. Where's the lost Turbo Bird? It's buried somewhere in here. Alright, there we go. So, we go back on a win streak again. Down to... Let's see how many days go by here. Lots of games won. And then I face Mr. Roy Roger McFreely on the 1st of February. So I'm going to bring that game up. And I've actually already checked these games for replay validity, so there's no worry that they're going to fail, which is quite nice. All right. And I'm up against Grand Arbiter Augustin. This is actually an awesome game. I'm actually going to save this game for last, and I may probably just do a separate video for this one, because this one's actually a really awesome game, and it's quite intense and lengthy. So I'm going to close this one. But shortly after facing Mr. Roy Roger, actually, no, I guess I lost right before him. I played against this guy, Alvaro Paul Osarm. Who knows? Palosarm. It's hard to pronounce these names. I wish more people would just use their proper name. right. So this game was also, I think, played on the 1st. And this is part of when the crazy Yuriko win streak went away. Basically 2 losses out of 3 games, which is pretty shocking. He's playing Modorath, the Gravetide. 6-mana commander, obviously incredibly powerful, but 6 mana against this deck should just be practically unusable given how fast and aggressive it is. So he mulliganed to 6. I mulliganed to 6, and I see this hand, and I figure with the Scry, it's probably good enough to keep. Although, I don't know. I mean, in retrospect, I probably should have thrown this away, but I decided to keep it. I see a Force Spike on top. I put that on the bottom. I draw a Merchant Scroll. All right. Not liking things too much. He plays Vessel of Nascency, which is kind of an interesting card. Obviously, he's playing with this because of its synergy with his commander. Being able to fill your graveyard with all sorts of different permanents means that if you play Modorath, then you get to untap. You get to basically Yawgmoth's Will every turn, which is pretty unstoppable, in addition to the 6/6 creature. All right. Come on, deck. Land. All right. As soon as I draw this Mutavault and play it, I'm immediately just sort of disappointed with myself. I clearly should have played the Mox Diamond there, even though there's a risk that he fetches up or has a way to kill an artifact in his hand. I think that getting blue and black mana right now is way too important. The Mutavault is just not very useful. And with that in mind, I scroll and probably could have taken Force of Will here just to really protect myself and just to buy myself some time. Because if I do draw one more mana source, then I'll be able to activate my commander. But I go get Brainstorm, figuring he's not really representing any threats right now, and he's a long way from playing his commander. And I figure with the Brainstorm and the Spellseeker, I should be able to just Brainstorm into another land, cast a Spellseeker, and then get Mana Drain and stop his commander then, and probably wrap the game up with Jace and the Sword. But things do not always work out that way. So he does his Vessel of Nascency, and I think he reveals, how does this thing work? Okay. It's quite interesting. Reveal an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker from among them and put it into your hand. Okay, so Rhystic Study played. So it looks like he kept Reflecting Pool there. Yeah, there it is, sure enough. And he plays Sylvan Safekeeper. Okay, so that's the first part of my problems right there. No answer to that right now. Although Deluge, of course, is a good long-term answer for it. I need to draw land. All right. So I draw the Bloodstained Mire, throwing away, putting my Mox Diamond out. And I figure, all right, we're all set. My plan should come to fruition. I've got plenty of time before Modorath is breathing down my neck. I'm going to go get Mana Drain, just like I was saying. And now I'm feeling totally set. I mean, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? How about that? Black Lotus. Ridiculous. All right, so he sacks Black Lotus. He discards Splendid Reclamation, another really neat card with his commander. This card, Perpetual Timepiece. Shuffling, that's a really weird card. I guess he uses this to fill up his graveyard. Pernicious Deed. And I've got a Mox sitting in play. Chromatic Lantern, absolutely insane graveyard. Sure, he doesn't need any cards in his hand, but he's got his commander. He replays the Lion's Eye Diamond, replays a land, sacks it, and plays Rhystic Study from the graveyard. And just like that, guys, I mean, really, look at this board. He's got Sylvan Safekeeper, Modorath. He can sack lands and regrow them from the graveyard forever. So he's never going to run out of land. He has Rhystic Study, so he can draw extra cards. And he can start replaying even more of this stuff. He has a Perpetual Edict in the form of Plague Crafter. He has Pernicious Deed, basically the ability to just clear the board off over and over and over again forever. Although I guess he can, and then replay his Sylvan Safekeeper, Chromatic Lantern in the graveyard to replay, and of course the Diamond itself. Yeah. So I look at this board state, and I'm thinking about what can I do here. I cast Brainstorm and pay the mana, draw 3, and this is great, right? Land and Soul Ring, and anyway, I kind of look at the board, and I'm looking at the board thinking, yep, there's probably pretty much no way out of this. The more I look at it, the more insane this board position becomes, and I realize that I have no chance of winning, and so I scoop it up to the Modorath guy, and I think this was loss number 2 for this deck in its lifetime of being played. Time to move on to game number 3. We'll save the best one for last, I think, or at least the most involved one. So that was the game against this guy, and then there was that game against Roy Roger, and then I'm going to scroll down a little further. And today, actually, or I guess yesterday, I encountered my good friend Anthony Giuliani, who you may notice has comments on my videos a fair amount. He's been playing Asami since time began, reiterating and perfecting that version of the deck. He's certainly invested a lot more time in Asami than I have, and I think his version is pretty top-notch. If you want to know how to build a really, really good 1v1 Commander Asami deck, which I'm sure is substantially better than mine, message Anthony on YouTube about it. I'm sure he'd probably share the list with you because his deck is beastly and always gives me a big problem no matter what deck I use against it. So first game against Anthony. Here we go. Bring it up there again. All right. So unfortunately I'm going second. And this deck does not want to go second, particularly against Asami. And I've got this hand. This hand is really interesting. It has a lot of good tools, but it also has some of the clunkiest cards in the deck in the form of Diabolic Intent and Mox Amber. And in retrospect, I think I probably, knowing what I was up against, it probably would have made sense to just go for a mulligan here and hope to just get a 1-drop, because the one way that I can really probably beat this deck is just pressure it early with Disruption and 1-drops into Yuriko, and then just keep his commander out of play. Keeping this sort of slow and reactive draw quite a bit worse. Although I did kind of keep it because both Mystical Tutor and Sword of Fire and Ice are really good against it, but it's kind of a pipe dream to get that much stuff running. Mystical Tutoring into Mana Drain maybe, but he's too good of a player to just walk into Mana Drain. And with that in mind, I probably should have mulliganed. I think I've been lulled into a false sense of complacency by some of the other decks that I played. And Anthony keeps his hand. Buckle up, boys. This is going to be ugly. Gitaxian Probe, turn 1. So he knows my entire hand. Knows that it's safe to play Chrome Mox. And he's imprinting Tezzeret the Seeker. And then he plays Isochron Scepter, imprinting Deprive, which is a card I do not use in Asami. I'm a little reluctant to play. This deck is so blue hungry, I'm a little reluctant to play it. But I guess he really loves it for the hard counter and the fact that it does allow you to replay land if you've peaked all your mana. Plus, I believe, I'm not sure how the rules work if you imprint, if you cast Deprive off of Isochron Scepter, whether or not you have to even tap a land. It may be that you don't. Someone will have to let me know. All right, I got to draw 1-drop here. I did not. I drew River of Tears and somewhat useless Divining Top. The one saving grace is that he did eat 4 cards out of his hand. If he doesn't have a lot of other mana, I could just buy myself a fair amount of time here and eventually bounce the Isochron Scepter. But he's got 3 mana and literally the worst thing in his whole deck for me to face. Freaking Patron Wizard on turn 2. I mean, if you think Rhystic Study is bad, this guy's so much worse. You don't have the ability to actually pay more mana to, or I should say you don't have the ability to opt out of paying mana and letting him draw to develop your board. You just basically lose. In fact, Patron Wizard is the card that inspired me to build my very first Asami deck. I think I played against it, not in an Asami deck, but in some other deck, and got completely destroyed by it and went, man, I want to play a deck where that guy's good. And Asami is that deck. All right, I draw Mox Diamond. That's super, super lucky here. So when I draw that, I figure, well, that sort of offsets the Patron Wizard. Again, if he doesn't have any mana for a turn or two, I can still work around it and probably be okay. So I play my Mox Diamond, throw away the Scalding Tarn. And I use my Divining Top here. Obviously, I can't cast Yuriko. And I'm just hoping there's something awesome up here. And of course, there's a Dark Confidant, one of the Asami Destroyer cards, but I can't play it because of Patron Wizard. So I'm going to put Spell Pierce on top and hope that he just, I don't know, taps 4 mana for a Planeswalker like Jace or something, and I'm able to Spell Pierce it, and then in the interim, get my Dark Confidant into play. That's really all I can hope for. And it goes to Anthony's turn. He's got Ancient Tomb. Jesus Christ. And he thinks for a bit, and then he just goes for it. And this is like such a vicious situation because I have Mystical Tutor in my hand, and I have the ability to go Tutor, cast Mystical Tutor, and get Force of Will, right? Or Force Spike. Force Spike wouldn't work because, of course, Patron Wizard. But if I had Force of Will, if I get Force of Will, I can draw it into my hand, but there's only one problem. No blue cards. No, I can't Force of Will Asami. And I might have still been okay here. I mean, the board is still nightmarish with Isochron Scepter and him having 5 mana in play already, but at least I have maybe an outside chance of being okay here if I'm able to get Force of Will. It does set me back a lot, but at least there's some possible route to success. If he gets really unlucky and I just am able to get the sword running on my creature and I can kill off Patron Wizard, but I'm just looking at the situation. I'm thinking, okay, well, I have Spellbearers on top. That doesn't do anything. Cryptic Command doesn't do anything. There's just no way to get a blue card into my hand and Mystical Tutor. And once both of these guys are down, I'm not going to be able to do anything on my next turn. Like, there's nothing I can cast. And then he's going to draw 2 at the end of my turn, untap, and he's going to have Asami and Patron Wizard and a deprived Isochron Scepter and 4 cards in his hand, and I am super dead. There's basically no way out of this. Patron Wizard just locks out the game so fast. And so I scooped it up, and that was the end of that game. And right afterward, I intended to actually, his game was, I mean, he drew the Stone Cold Nuts so hard that I decided I wanted to really test a few more games. So I challenged him to what I thought was a duel. It wound up actually being a 2 out of 3. And so I'm going to go to the first game of that 2 out of 3 next. That's it right here. I think I don't need to close that other window. All right, rematch, game 1. All right, and Anthony going first again. Obviously, with my deck, I really, really, really want to be playing first. So it's a big advantage to him to go first. He does mulligan at least, so there's that saving grace. This hand is quite nice, actually. Getting Daze and Cloud of Fairies early is phenomenal. And I really, really just needed to really want a 1-drop. But pretty damn good. Plus the bounce is extremely good, too. And he does not have a turn 1 play either. So I'm really liking my chances. Drawing Mutavault's actually really good, too, because it's extra pressure and makes the Yuriko hit a lot harder. Oops. Careful. Looks like I just jumped ahead there. Well, it wasn't too dramatic. He just, on turn 2, he played Jace Vryn's Prodigy. And I went back to my turn. I drew Blink of an Eye. I drew Baleful Strix. So I played Cloud of Fairies, untapped, played Baleful Strix. And I'm sitting here on the daze, figuring that he may just tap out on his 3rd turn to play something, and I can hopefully daze it and then get the Yuriko train running. Plus the 2 bounce spells, and I'm feeling really comfortable. Plus I've got Tetsuko Umezawa to get through with my Commander forever. He draws a card. He throws away Transmute Artifact. I'm pretty sure he's playing this for the same reason he's playing the Isochron Scepter. Almost certainly he's got the card that untaps all your non-land permanents. The name eludes me at the moment. But anyway, you get a few mana artifacts in play, and that, and your Asami and everything, you can draw your whole deck and generate infinite mana. So he's got combo pieces in here, which is another groovy difference between his deck and mine. I have just top-end stuff, I think. Spellseeker. And this is an interesting choice here. Don't think I'm going to daze it, though. I'm just hoping to just use the daze in a timely way to stop Asami by bluffing, tapping out, and he gets mana drain off that. All right. I'm surprised Anthony doesn't have the old picture of mana drain. Gotta at least have that, man. Have some pride. All right. Island. Not the best. Really, really need to draw a hard counter here. Plus the Jace is just going to do inexorable stuff. He's got Transmute Artifact to play from the graveyard when it flips over. All right, so I don't have a ton of time here. I decide I'm just going to attack with both and hope that he walks into my... Oh, actually, I guess I decide not to do that. I decide not to use Yuriko, not for that turn at least. I just want to develop the board a little bit more and make sure that stuff keeps getting through in case he flips over the Jace. All right, uses Jace again, throws away Scalding Tarn. Patron Wizard, god damn it. And he's got an island untapped. I can't even daze this. Card is just so brutal. Easily top 3, probably most powerful card in the entire Asami deck. In fact, I think that the only cards that are probably better than it are the Sol Ring and the Mana Crypt. Patron Wizard is just one of those cards where you draw it and the game just shifts so dramatically in your favor instantly. It's so hard to play around. Obviously, he's not going to attack. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do here. He's got Power Sink for 2 permanently, then he doesn't even have to use it. That's the thing that's so brutal. So I think for a while here, and I'm thinking, all right, well, I can just get Yuriko out, I guess. And I've got enough mana. God, if he has another land and he hard casts Asami, I can't even counterspell it with the daze. It's so crazy. All right, so I'm going to send these guys in. And I got to just hope to get lucky here. Get Force of Will or something. And I get Mox Amber, which actually isn't bad at all. Of course, I'm not going to play it because he'll just tap his 2 dudes and yeah, it'll basically just be countered for nothing. So I gotta hope he doesn't have a 5th land. He's got way better than a 5th land. Mana Crypt. God damn. I see him tapping some mana here and thinking about whether or not to cast his commander. I think probably from this position, I think if I were him, I would have probably just played the commander. I don't think that there's any reason not to. With just 2 mana available and Patron Wizard pretty much automatically hard countering anything I do, he should be able to play Asami safely. And maybe he's really worried that if he plays Asami here and I have some kind of a playback, like a remand or something, he does tap his guys to counterspell it, which is fine. Asami comes down, but he doesn't have the ability to counter on the following turn. And if I've got something like Treachery or Deluge, it's possible that I could steal it and still potentially maybe win the game. So after thinking for a while, I think he goes for the more disciplined play, and he casts Gilded Lotus instead, which all but ensures that he can play around any counter magic that I might happen to have, even if it means that one more turn goes by. It does give me a little bit of a window. I'm not sure why the hell did I get Underground Sea there. I think I just missed that I could have gotten Sunken Hollow. I'm not used to playing with that card. All right. Playing my Mox, this is obviously just a bluff, hoping he'll tap his 3 guys to try to counter it. I would definitely let it die. All right, here they come. I mean, I don't really know what I'm supposed to get here. And I know he has Mana Drain in his hand, too, on top of everything else. And I just get a crummy island. Game slipping away so fast. Patron Wizard is just too brutal. I mean, he knows how to use it correctly, too. He basically wait to counter the stuff that comes later in the turn. And all I managed to do here is prevent him from drawing a card off Jace. That's it. By playing Baleful Strix. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I guess I can bounce the Gilded Lotus, and I'm not sure what that accomplishes, but really, what can I do? He thinks for a while. And he casts Deprive, bouncing an island back to his hand. I know he still has Mana Drain, and next turn he's going to be replaying Asami with Mana Drain in hand and 4 Power Sinks. And yeah, there's no getting out of that. Doesn't matter what the hell I do. I mean, I guess maybe in some weird fantasy world I might be able to just keep attacking for 3 or 4 damage a turn until he's dead. But, I mean, I know this deck well enough. He's going to draw 4 extra cards a turn. It's just a matter of time before my whole board is destroyed. And there's no win in this game either. So Anthony wins 2 consecutive games off of me. And we played a second game, which I guess I could probably record a video for afterwards, since I'm sure people will be interested in seeing it. And then I had to run to go pick up my son from choir. So unfortunately, we didn't get to a third game. But I will record, as a separate video, I'm going to record that other loss because I thought it was actually a really interesting game. I do think it bugs out at the end, but you'll get a sense of what was going on prior to that. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Kind of cool to recap some games that were losses as for a change. And please post in the comments whether you want me to post lost games, even if the games themselves are not all that interesting. This was a good game, and I think the one before it was as well. And the one coming up is too. But a fair amount of the losses are more like that Turbo Bird game. They're basically games where just something weird happens, just you don't get any mana, or you don't get the right colors, or just crazy stuff happens, and it just doesn't make for the most compelling viewing. But I am receptive to the idea of posting some games like that if you guys would be interested in seeing them. I'm sorry this is almost a 30-minute video. Hope it was worth it, and I will see you soon.